All right, Razorback fans, I know by the title, you're like, I am sick of talking about the fans not being at Bud Walton Arena. But you know what? I'm going to provide some solutions for you. Let's talk about today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Neighbors. I'm also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Wednesday as you're getting to the point to where you have some basketball overlapping with some football, which we'll talk a little football here in a bit, as well as a little bit about senior night or senior day, last game of the home team, and if it means anything anymore. But I wanted to bring up something that I discussed yesterday on this podcast, as well as on my show, dealing with the attendance at Razorback basketball games. It's been a very hot topic of discussion, which, if you were on social media or anything yesterday, you saw it. There's a lot of it going on. And some of you may take that as a bad thing. Maybe you're getting tired of it. That's okay. But to me, I see it as a very much a net positive because it's something that needs to be addressed. It's something that needs to be fixed. And what better way to showcase the fact that there is a problem with it or that it is a problem that needs to be fixed than talking about it and suggesting it. But I'm not going to go into the details of blaming people anymore or going into who's at fault here or anything like that. I simply just want to provide possible solutions. I'm here to help is what I'm trying to say. I'm not here to complain. I'm here to help because I do want to see Bud Walton Arena be great again. It is the basketball palace of Mid-America. It is a wonderful facility that has such a wonderful history of rich tradition, and I want to see it be to the level that it needs to be. And so some of you asked, well, John, if you have such problems, what would you do? How would you fix it? What could be done? Well, all you people over there at the University of Arkansas in the marketing department, Hunter Yurachek, fans that are going to the game, season ticket holders, whatever it is, whoever it is, here you go. A free little tip, few tips on what you can do to make the facility and the atmosphere back to being great again. Think back to the Razorback history of Bud Walton Arena and really what made those games so special. Now, as a kid growing up, I had the privilege and the honor to go to a few games in the mid-90s. Don't remember too much about them because I was only about 6. However, there are certain things and certain elements that always stood out to me. The very basic things about Bud Walton Arena. And it may sound weird, but just stay with me on this. As a kid who had no skin in the game, didn't care about the players or anything like that, one of the number one things that I remember is the PA, John George, the voice. I love John George. He's iconic. He still does it today. And I hope that he continues to do it. I think that his ability to really encompass the entire atmosphere and having the guy who's over the PA say the most things and, be on top of it is always a really great thing and always a really cool thing. So that's great. That needs to stay there and that needs to, keep it going. But also as a kid, I noticed was the simple things, not me looking at a thing of the fry toss of some certain company. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what everybody else paid attention to. As a kid, that's kind of how your mind goes. You don't know what's going on, but you know something significant is going on over here. And what I remember is seeing the student section. Because the student section, where they had almost their own little party over there, as I like to think about it as a kid, it was so different. And, next to the student section, of course, was the band. Those were the things that stood out to me. Because everybody else is doing one thing. The regular fans are getting into it and all that. But then you got the students over there. When a song starts on the band, they start having these certain dances. They start having these certain chants. They start doing these certain things. And it's different. It's almost like its own little show within itself. So you see that, and you see that there's energy about that, which provides energy back this way. It needs to be able to have that happen again. I always felt like there were other opportunities, and in certain games, in certain years, the student section been better than others. Students come and go, all of that. But there needs to be something that's set up and organized. That way, the student section is really being a part of the show, if you will. Being a part of the atmosphere, being creative, being clever, and being able to provide that type of element of entertainment that is unique to Arkansas. Not just simply of like, hey, let's roll up a banner and put it behind us that has the big Woo Pig Suey on it. Great. That's cool. But that does not need to be the feature. This is something that I think that marketing needs to help out with. What students have to have an initiative, some sort of, I've said this for years, even when I was a student section leader, I've always felt like there needed to be some sort of leadership role, an actual club organization for it. But the final thing that I noticed always as a kid was the constant energy building. Energy building. Now, what I mean by that is you could always tell when the team was playing really well or when the team wasn't playing so well. It's a game of runs, as they say. Now, it's easy to keep the energy going and be excited and pumped up and reveling in everything when you're playing really well, but it's also the times that you go let the other team go on a run and coach got to take a timeout. But it was always up to those involved and those that were in the stands and those that were there to get everybody involved in it. I know it's easier said than done, but whether it's members of the band, whether it's the certain music that's playing, whether it's some sort of video playing, whatever it is, the energy level is where it's always going to be. When people have energy, that's everything about life. You have energy, and you got to maintain it. You got to, and if you lose it a little bit, you got to bring it back. But if you're also having it, you got to maintain it. And the constant stoppages of it's got to be an orchestra. It's got to be a flow. You can't have these stoppages and just let it go out and never be heard of again, and then just hope that everybody gets loud again once the action starts. You can't cut the energy. You got to pick and choose your spots. But for so long, and for really this year, those are the three things, the simple things that Arkansas has been missing. Of course, attendance itself, but those are the elements that makes Bud Walton what it is. And it's a group effort. It's a constant understanding of, hey, your role is this, their role is this. We do this in this certain situation, and we see that, and we like have this amount of fun. But too often I see, the band, the alone trying to do things that nobody knows what's going on. The students try to do things, don't do anything, actually. They just stand there, which is a shame because there's so many chants and so many things that's going on that should be like reoccurring because it always has been. They don't do anything. So when you have the band doing things that no one knows, you have the students doing nothing, and then you have the people on the MC and in the events that are just yelling into a microphone that you can't really understand because the DJ's got the music blaring too long. It's just a mess. It's just a mess. Now, some of you may not even care about any of these things, and that's fine. That's fine. But my solution for those, because again, the attendance is going to be the attendance. You can only do so much to get people there. But when they're there, you got to feature and you got to showcase it to make it look like and be like a show that nobody else wants to miss. You want it to look and be like something on social media where everybody's posting about it and you're the one missing out. You got that FOMO. That's what you need to have. That's what you need to be able to provide. Make it to where no matter the game, no matter who you're playing, no matter the day of the week, the time of night, time of day, any of that, it doesn't matter. You have to make it to where this event is box office, must see, must watch, do not miss. It's a really easy thing to do. It's really easy. People don't go to basketball games because of giveaways and corporate sponsors. They don't go because the playlist is really good on the DJ stand. That's not, and they don't do that. Granted, the majority of them go to see a good product on the court. I know that. That comes first and foremost, and that's an understood statement. But when the team is good and when the team is interesting and entertaining, and you're still not getting the crowds, you got to look inward, and you got to be able to provide something that gives energy to the place. Energy feeds off of each other. People feed off of each other. And then energy, not only in the building, not only during the game, but from game to game to game carries over. Do things for the fans. Energize the fans. Don't make it so cookie cutter. Don't make it to where it's just kind of like, well, we're here. You should be excited. Have specials, dollar beer nights for games like this. Have a deal where you if you're up there in the stands, move everybody down to the below deck. Be there for the fans. Make it worth their while. Offer free parking for a game or two. It's not difficult, folks. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't try to overthink it. Make Bud Walton great again. I'm passionate about it. Maybe you aren't, but I am. And the Razorback basketball program is a much prouder deal. It's a much prouder product than what it's been. Let's get back to it, shall we? Thus endeth the lesson, or whatever. I want to talk about football because there is something going on in the football landscape dealing with Louisiana Tech this week, which I know all of you are so pumped about. But we'll talk about that and more here on the other side of the break. So stay with us on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, all you Razorback fans, listen, I know all of us love a great deal. I love a great deal. You love a great deal, but no one's going to go through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. I mean, it's going to be a lot of work. It's got to be worth our time. And I wasn't sure about it, but Mint Mobile said it was easy to get $15 a month on your wireless plan with the purchase of a 3-month plan. Had to check it out, and it turns out it really is that easy. Go to a wireless plan for $15 a month. The longest part of the process was the time that you'll spend on hold waiting to break up with the old provider that you have, and it'll be totally worth it. To get started, just go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. There, you'll see that right now, all 3-month plans are only $15 a month, including an unlimited plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even use your phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number as well as along with your existing contacts. Find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. That's mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3 months plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details at mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. It didn't hit a break, so we'll have to do it here. Moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast, folks. I wanted to bring up about Louisiana Tech this weekend. I was looking through game notes. I was checking out all of the things about this game, matchups. Nobody cares, bro. Like, nobody cares. And I don't blame you. It's a game that does nothing for nobody at all. I had a chance to catch up with Brandon Marcel of 24/7 Sports. And it was a really interesting interview. You can check out over at Inside Arkansas. But he was talking about just barring anything crazy against Louisiana Tech, like losing, Sam Pittman's going to remain on as coach. We talked a little bit about that before. But it's just crazy to me that a football game can mean so little. But it's important. It's important for Arkansas. It's important for Sam Pittman. It's important for this team to come out and to perform really well against Louisiana Tech. Now, Arkansas has had some home games this year where they haven't performed well. And they've had some home games where they have performed well. It's the roller coaster type of vibe. Even against Texas this past weekend, you didn't win, but you played better than most people would have guessed or would have thought. It's true. Now, it's not going to make you just suddenly forget about all the issues that you may have, but it's still going to make you feel at least a little bit better about not being embarrassed the way you were against Ole Miss or the way you were against LSU. But Louisiana Tech, it's going to come down to this. Like, Missouri, you should get hyped up for no matter what. That should be a game that Sam Pittman wants, that the football team wants, that everybody wants that game badly. Because for some reason, the college football playoff rankings still have them in the top 25, which is a joke. But you should want that. There should be no reason to get yourself motivated for that. You should be motivated for that, no matter what. But Louisiana Tech, it could be easy to just overlook it. It could be easy to just go over and gloss over it and just not even care about it. Why? Well, because it's Louisiana Tech for one. And two, it's a unique thing, which I know that Arkansas has done this the past few years, but it's a unique thing to start having these non-conference games in the second to last week of the season. And I don't know how I feel about it. I used to remember Arkansas playing a scheduled type season where you had your first three games were non-conference opponents. Then you throw in an SEC game, and then maybe you throw in another non-conference game. Or maybe just mid-year, mid-October or something like that. You have some random one-off game against some non-conference opponent in Eastern Michigan or something. It seemed to be that was the case, but now it's moving more towards having a second-to-last game against a non-conference opponent. Some people have reasons for that. I always have felt that they do that to try to make it easier, I guess, not to get too beat up or not to have too much of a grind at the end of the season to get you ready for rivalry week and the final week of the season, which most teams have. But you can't overlook Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech is actually a team. I'm not going to say they're good. I'm not going to say Arkansas shouldn't beat them or Arkansas is going to struggle against them. But let's be honest. We all know how this goes. We know how this is going to go. We know that it's not going to be an easy game against Arkansas or against Louisiana Tech. We know it's going to be closer than it probably should be. And one of the things that, I don't know if you noticed this, but in my rigorous diving into about Louisiana Tech, they're 4-6 this year. They've only lost one game by a possession, or by more than one possession. They lost to NC State 30-20 at the beginning of the year. They lost to Tulsa by 3, FIU by 7, New Mexico State by 3. Sam Houston by 6, and Jacksonville State by 7. But they've also won a bunch of games by one possession. They did that against Nichols, they did it against UTEP, and they did it against Western Kentucky. They did blow out Middle Tennessee State. But the point is that you're going to have a team that's going to come in here motivated and pumped up and excited to try to beat you in the SEC and try to knock off and ruin everything. Sam Pittman and Arkansas cannot afford to overlook it. And this is why these final two games are so crucial for Pittman. If Arkansas comes out performing poorly in this game, even if they win, but if they come out lackadaisical, not sharp, they have not a great showing, they have a deal with I'm trying to think of who it was. Yeah, UAB. That was who it was. UAB earlier this year, where UAB was terrible and is terrible. But you did not play well against them. You cannot have that type of performance. You just can't. You got to show some heart, some energy, some excitement. Yes, it was a downer to lose to Texas the way you did. But do you have pride? Do you have pride in what you do? Do you believe in your coach? Do you believe in your team? Do you believe that you're still fighting for something special? Then go out there and perform. I don't know what the fans are going to look like. I don't know what the attendance is going to look like, because the attendance has actually been pretty great for this football team. Granted, every other home game that you've had in the SEC has been against top 10 opponents or top 5 opponents. That always helps. But just go out there and motivate yourself. And because if you lose, it's all over. But if you win and if you look really good and you look like you actually care and you put a lot of effort into it and you do care about this win, it's at least going to give people some sort of good feeling and some sort of interest going into Missouri. Some. Not all, but some. We'll see how it goes. We'll talk about Senior Day, though. I have a few thoughts on Senior Day. We'll get to that and more on the other side of the break. So stay with us on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, all you Locked On Razorback fans, listen, who do you want to celebrate with? How do you want to stay connected when people who are far away? Missing someone this holiday season? Want them to be a part of your festivities afar? Do you love your loved ones that live far away but wish that they were close to you? Well, we've got a perfect gift for you. Skylight Frame is the touchscreen digital photo frame your whole family will love. Upload thousands of photos with your phone and watch them all appear in just seconds. It's so easy to use. Setup takes less than 60 seconds. It's seamless sharing. Invite friends and family to easily share photos via the free Skylight mobile app or email, no account or subscription required, and add new photos straight from your phone from anywhere. It only takes a tap on your phone to send photos to a frame across the country. It's the fastest and easiest way to keep loved ones in the loop. They'll feel so much more connected to you, and the touchscreen is a game changer. Swipe through photos, tap through photos that are sent, tap the heart button to say thank you to the sender. It's got it all. And now, as a special limited time offer for all of our listeners, get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight frame when you go to skylightframe.com/college. That's SKYLIGHTFRAME.com/college. Get $20 off your purchase now at skylight.frame.com/college. We're also, of course, brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything that you need to place live bets on in the NFL, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Senior Day is happening for Arkansas this weekend in Fayetteville against Louisiana Tech, and it's happening for a lot of teams across the country. And if it's not happening for them this weekend, odds are it's happening for the next weekend. And I remember it used to mean something, man. Senior Day used to mean something. It used to mean that you get to say goodbye and have to say goodbye to those players that have been with you for a long time. But that doesn't exist anymore. This doesn't happen. I think about a player like Landon Jackson. Landon Jackson has been at Arkansas for a long time. And you're probably like, but has he? Relatively speaking, he has. 3 years at Arkansas? That's a long time. It's a very long time. And he's going to be going through senior rock. He's going to get drafted into the NFL. I think he's done a great job for Arkansas. He's been a great captain. No, whatever game he's been captain for. Point is, he's one of the few that you look at and you're like, man, yeah, I felt like I got to know him, got to connected with him as a player. You saw him play a lot. He was involved a lot. He went to SEC Media Days twice. You know, it was all right there. But on the other side of it, with even though the other seniors, I'm not taking anything away from them, but there's so many of those players that you're just not going to feel that same connection with just because they had to get there. Like Jaquinton Jackson. I love Jaquinton Jackson. But Jaquinton Jackson, it's like, man, he was here for a year and he was hurt a lot. And you just didn't feel that same thing. And I'm not saying it's bad because it's not anyone's in control of it. It's not like somebody can just, it's changed for the worse and it's made things worse. It's just unfortunate. I don't think that there should be, should it be a senior day or should it just be, hey, your final year day or your final game at Arkansas day or because people are going to transfer. You're going to go pro. It just needs to be that. I think it's probably a little bit more difficult to go through. But it used to mean a lot. But there's going to be a few seniors that take that walk, at least final year players that take that walk. And I heard even Sam Pittman talk about how Josh Braun, he could come back for another year, but he is going to walk. The reason is because that guy's a genius. He's got like 3 degrees already, I believe. So who knows? Maybe he moves on and does something different. And that could absolutely happen. That could absolutely be the case. But the point is, I have always appreciated it, and it has been always important. But anytime that there's going to be a player, you don't even have to put it at 4 years. But if you have a player that stuck it out with you and that was at one school and was there for 3 years at minimum, and this is their final game, Give a lot of appreciation to them. I know he's my guy, but give that to Hudson Clark. Give them that appreciation. Give them the appreciation of not only from guys like that, but Landon Jackson, Jaquindon Jackson, everybody. Like, give them appreciation. But those guys who stuck it out with you, didn't transfer, didn't move on, didn't complain, didn't cause problems, didn't do any of that. They're just a great teammate. Give them a lot of love. They deserve it this weekend. The very minimum, those players deserve it. Appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at John Neighbors Show for any questions, comments, concerns you may have. We'll keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel. Tomorrow afternoon, have a great rest of your day, everybody. See you then.